I never imagined that Christmas could change everything, until my best friend's sister kissed me beneath the glow of the holiday lights, and nothing would ever be the same. Some moments don't wait for courage, they just happen, wrapped in the shimmer of snow and the scent of pine. The first snow of Christmas Day fell softly outside the living room window, dusting the world in silver. The tree lights blinked in gentle rhythm, and the faint hum of "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas" drifted through the air. I hadn't expected her to be there, my best friend's sister, back from university, standing by the fireplace with a mug of cocoa and that quiet, knowing smile that always made me forget how to breathe. Her name was Clara. She looked up when she saw me enter, her eyes warm and a little mischievous. "I thought you'd be here," she said, voice soft enough to melt frost. I tried to sound casual. "Couldn't miss Christmas morning with your family. Besides, your mom makes the best cinnamon rolls in the world." "Still the same excuse," she teased. "You never admit you just like being here." She was right, but not for the reason she thought. I liked being here because of her. The fire crackled, laughter echoed from the kitchen, and for a fleeting moment, it felt like everything outside this house didn't matter. Just her, me, and the snow. Clara stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "You've changed," she said quietly. "Grown up." I laughed, a little nervously. "You say that like I wasn't already an adult." She tilted her head, eyes sparkling. "Not like this." The way she looked at me made my pulse trip, something unspoken, almost electric, humming between us. Outside, carolers passed, their voices distant. Inside, the air grew heavier, more intimate. Clara reached out, her fingers brushing mine, a touch so light it could have been an accident, but wasn't. "Clara," I whispered, but the word dissolved as she leaned in. Her lips met mine beneath the golden glow of the Christmas lights, soft, uncertain, and yet full of something that felt inevitable. It was a kiss that tasted like warmth after winter, like the ending of waiting. When she pulled away, she smiled faintly, her breath catching. "I've wanted to do that since last Christmas." I couldn't speak, only smile, heart pounding like snow against glass. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, everything quietly changed. Sometimes love doesn't arrive with grand gestures or fireworks. Sometimes, it finds you standing beneath Christmas lights, and suddenly the whole world feels like it's waiting to begin again. The fire crackled, laughter echoed from the kitchen, and for a fleeting moment, it felt like everything outside this house didn't matter. Just her, me, and the snow. Clara stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "You've changed," she said quietly. "Grown up." I laughed, a little nervously. "You say that like I wasn't already an adult." She tilted her head, eyes sparkling. "Not like this." The way she looked at me made my pulse trip, something unspoken, almost electric, humming between us. Outside, carolers passed, their voices distant. Inside, the air grew heavier, more intimate. Clara reached out, her fingers brushing mine, a touch so light it could have been an accident, but wasn't. "Clara," I whispered, but the word dissolved as she leaned in. Her lips met mine beneath the golden glow of the Christmas lights, soft, uncertain, and yet full of something that felt inevitable. It was a kiss that tasted like warmth after winter, like the ending of waiting. When she pulled away, she smiled faintly, her breath catching. "I've wanted to do that since last Christmas." I couldn't speak, only smile, heart pounding like snow against glass. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, everything quietly changed. End hook. Sometimes love doesn't arrive with grand gestures or fireworks. Sometimes, it finds you standing beneath Christmas lights, and suddenly the whole world feels like it's waiting to begin again. She stepped closer, her gaze steady. "You don't have to apologize." "I wasn't going to," I said, breath catching. I didn't expect it." Clara smiled softly. "Neither did I. But I don't regret it." Her honesty made my chest tighten. I'd known her for years, always the older sister, the one who teased me for being shy, who left for university and came back changed, more grounded, more herself. And now she was standing close enough that I could feel the warmth of her breath against my cheek. "I don't want to make things complicated," I murmured. "Your brother doesn't have to know," she said quickly. "Not yet. Not until we do." There was a pause, the kind that feels like the whole world holding its breath. Then she reached out and took my hand. "Come outside with me." We slipped through the back door into the cold evening air. The snow was deeper now, untouched and perfect. The sky glowed with a faint silver haze, and the soft hum of distant carols floated from somewhere down the street. Clara turned to me, her cheeks pink from the cold, eyes shining. "You always said you wanted a Christmas you'd never forget." I laughed softly. "Yeah. I didn't think it would be because of this." She smiled, the kind that feels like a secret you're lucky to be let in on. "Then maybe it's time you stop thinking and start feeling." And there, under the soft fall of snow, she kissed me again, slower this time, deeper, a promise hidden in the quiet night. When she finally pulled back, she whispered, "Now it's real." Some people unwrap gifts on Christmas night. I unwrapped a truth, that sometimes love doesn't arrive when it's easy, but when it's brave enough to stay. She stepped closer, her gaze steady. "You don't have to apologize." "I wasn't going to," I said, breath catching. I didn't expect it." Clara smiled softly. "Neither did I. But I don't regret it." Her honesty made my chest tighten. I'd known her for years, always the older sister, the one who teased me for being shy, who left for university and came back changed, more grounded, more herself. And now she was standing close enough that I could feel the warmth of her breath against my cheek. "I don't want to make things complicated," I murmured. "Your brother doesn't have to know," she said quickly. "Not yet. Not until we do." There was a pause, the kind that feels like the whole world holding its breath. Then she reached out and took my hand. "Come outside with me." We slipped through the back door into the cold evening air. The snow was deeper now, untouched and perfect. The sky glowed with a faint silver haze, and the soft hum of distant carols floated from somewhere down the street. Clara turned to me, her cheeks pink from the cold, eyes shining. "You always said you wanted a Christmas you'd never forget." I laughed softly. "Yeah. I didn't think it would be because of this." She smiled, the kind that feels like a secret you're lucky to be let in on. "Then maybe it's time you stop thinking and start feeling." And there, under the soft fall of snow, she kissed me again, slower this time, deeper, a promise hidden in the quiet night. When she finally pulled back, she whispered, "Now it's real." Some people unwrap gifts on Christmas night. I unwrapped a truth, that sometimes love doesn't arrive when it's easy, but when it's brave enough to stay. "I don't regret it," I said. "I just don't know what happens now." Before she could answer, her brother, my best friend, stumbled in, yawning. "You two are up early," he said, oblivious, reaching for a cinnamon roll. Clara and I exchanged a quick glance, hearts leaping into our throats. "Couldn't sleep," I said quickly. He grinned. "Probably the coffee. You always get jittery around the holidays." Clara chuckled softly. "Yeah. Must be the caffeine." But when he turned away, she caught my gaze again, that same spark, quiet but impossible to hide. After breakfast, everyone gathered in the living room to watch a movie. The fire crackled, wrapping the room in warmth, but I could barely focus. Every time Clara moved, every glance, every small smile across the room, it was too much. When her brother went outside to take a call, Clara stood up, brushed invisible crumbs from her sweater, and whispered, "Come with me." I followed her upstairs to the guest room, the one with the window overlooking the snowy garden. She closed the door quietly and turned to me. "We can't keep pretending," she said softly. "I know." She stepped closer, her hand finding mine. "I don't want to hide this. Not from him. Not from anyone. The words hung there, heavy and real. My heart pounded. Are you sure? Yes, she whispered. Because last night wasn't a mistake. It was the first thing in a long time that felt right. Her confession stole the breath from my chest. And before I could stop myself, I kissed her again, slow, trembling, and full of everything I hadn't said. The snow fell outside the window, endless and forgiving. And for a moment, I didn't care about the rest of the world. Some secrets demand to be kept, but love, when it's real, always finds the courage to be seen. Love can hide behind laughter only so long before the truth unwraps itself, bright, unstoppable, and terrifyingly real. By afternoon, the snow had turned to light flakes, soft as feathers, drifting through a pale gray sky. The house buzzed with warmth, the sound of wrapping paper, laughter, clinking mugs. It was a perfect Christmas scene, if not for the heartbeat of a secret pulsing between Clara and me. Every time our eyes met, it was there. Every time her hand brushed mine, my chest tightened. And every time her brother smiled at me, the same brother who'd been my best friend since childhood, guilt twisted quietly inside me. We'd promised each other to wait. To find the right time to tell him. But love isn't patient. It shows itself in the smallest cracks. Clara caught me alone in the hallway as everyone gathered for dessert. She took my wrist gently, her touch a whisper. I can't keep pretending, she murmured. I shook my head, my heart thudding. Not here, not now. But before I could say more, her brother's voice echoed down the hall. Hey, you two, come help with the plates. We sprang apart, exchanging a quick, helpless glance. The evening wore on like a play we were barely holding together. The jokes, the teasing, the warm familiarity, it was all there, but underneath, a quiet storm brewed. After dinner, we gathered by the fire. Someone suggested one last round of Christmas gifts. I handed over the small wrapped box I'd brought for her brother, a vintage map for his travel wall. He laughed. You always find the best stuff. Clara smiled, watching us. When it was her turn, she handed me a small envelope. For you, she said softly. I hesitated. You didn't have to. Just open it. Inside was a photo, the two of us, years ago, laughing in the snow, before everything had changed. On the back, written in her looping handwriting, were the words. Some things don't fade, they just wait for Christmas. I looked up, eyes meeting hers. For a heartbeat, the whole room disappeared. Her brother noticed the silence. What's that? He asked lightly. Just an old photo, Clara said quickly, her voice too calm. But his gaze shifted between us, curious, searching. You two seem different lately. My stomach dropped. Clara tried to laugh it off. Maybe it's the Christmas spirit. He smirked. Or maybe there's something you're not telling me. The air tightened. For a second, no one breathed. Then Clara set her mug down, her jaw tightening. Actually, she said quietly, there is. Clara, I started, but she touched my arm, gentle and firm. She looked at her brother, eyes steady. I like her, she said simply. More than I should. And I think she feels the same. The words fell like snow, soft, but impossible to ignore. The room went silent. The fire crackled. Her brother's expression froze between disbelief and hurt. Finally, he exhaled. You're serious? Yes, Clara said, her voice trembling but sure. I am. He looked at me, eyes searching mine. And you? I swallowed hard. Yes. The silence that followed felt endless, and yet, somehow, freeing. The truth was finally out, raw and fragile, but real. He stood up slowly. I just didn't see it coming. I know, Clara said softly. Neither did we. Then, to my surprise, he sighed and smiled faintly. Guess Christmas really is full of surprises. The tension broke, replaced by something quiet and uncertain, acceptance, maybe, or the start of it. Clara's hand found mine beneath the blanket, hidden but fearless. And for the first time, we didn't look away. Sometimes the bravest gifts we give aren't wrapped in ribbon, they're wrapped in truth, and opened with trembling. Sometimes love waits for silence, for the hush after the storm, when the world is soft enough to hear what hearts have been trying to say all along. After everyone went to bed, the house fell quiet again. Only the ticking clock and the faint hum of the heater broke the stillness. I sat by the window, watching the snow swirl under the porch light, a slow dance of white and silver. My chest was still tight from what had happened earlier. The truth was out now. We weren't pretending anymore. But honesty, no matter how pure, always came with weight. I heard a soft knock on the door. Clara stepped in, wearing her oversized sweater, her hair loose, her expression uncertain but gentle. "Can't sleep either?" I shook my head. "Too much noise in my head." She smiled faintly. "Then come outside. It's quiet there." We slipped into our coats and stepped out onto the porch. The night air bit at our cheeks, but it was beautiful, the kind of cold that made everything feel sharper, clearer. The snow glittered under the lights. Our breath came out in little clouds. For a while, we just stood there, side by side, not speaking. Then she said softly, "You were brave today." I looked at her, surprised. "You were the one who spoke first." "Maybe," she said, turning to face me. "But you didn't run. You stayed." Her eyes shimmered in the snowlight, tender and full of something deep. "I was scared," I admitted. "I still am." "I know." She stepped closer, so close I could feel her warmth even in the cold. "But you're here. That's what matters." A snowflake caught in her hair, and without thinking, I reached out to brush it away. My fingers lingered, and her breath hitched. "Clara," I whispered, voice trembling. "What happens now?" She smiled, that small, knowing smile that had undone me from the very beginning. "We keep going. One day at a time. One truth at a time." I swallowed, emotion rising. "Even if it's hard?" "Especially then." Her hand found mine, fingers fitting perfectly, and we stood there as the snow fell around us, silent, steady, endless. After a while, she leaned her head against my shoulder. "You know," she murmured, "I used to watch you every Christmas. You'd help decorate, laugh with everyone, but I could always tell you were somewhere else. Lost in your head." I smiled. "You noticed?" "Always." She looked up at me, eyes shining. "I just never thought I'd be the reason you stayed." The words hit deep, warm, fragile, true. I turned, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You are," I said softly. "You're exactly why." And there, beneath the hush of falling snow, we kissed again, slow and certain, no fear this time, no pretending. Just us. The world was still. The lights glowed. And for the first time, Christmas didn't feel like a season, it felt like a beginning. Some confessions melt like snow, gentle, fleeting. But others stay, shining quietly in the cold, proving that love, once found, doesn't fade with winter. When the world wakes after a night of truth, love doesn't disappear, it just begins to learn how to live in the light. The next morning came slowly, gray clouds, quiet air, and the faint smell of coffee drifting through the house. The snow outside had stopped falling, leaving the garden wrapped in soft white stillness. I lay awake, replaying every moment of the night before, the way her hand fit into mine, the warmth of her voice, the peace that settled over me after the kiss. For the first time, I didn't feel the weight of hiding. Only the tenderness of what was real. When I finally went downstairs, Clara was already there, curled on the sofa with a blanket, hair still tousled from sleep, a book open in her lap. She looked up and smiled. "Morning." "Morning," I said softly, trying not to sound as full of awe as I felt. There was something different about the house. Lighter. freer. Maybe it was just me, or maybe it was the truth, quietly settling into place. Her brother came in a few minutes later, rubbing his eyes. He looked at both of us, hesitated, then offered a small, crooked grin. "Coffee's ready," he said. "And, no weirdness, okay?" Clara blinked. "No weirdness?" He shrugged. "You're both adults. If this is what makes you happy, I'll get used to it. Just, don't be weird about it." She laughed, relief flickering across her face. "Deal." I couldn't help smiling. The tension that had sat heavy in my chest for days began to dissolve. We spent the morning in easy quiet. Her brother went out to shovel the driveway, and Clara and I sat by the window, watching him, sipping cocoa. The snow glowed like powdered light across the garden. "It feels different today," she said softly. "How so?" She turned toward me. "Like we stopped pretending and the world didn't fall apart." I smiled. "Maybe it never would have. Maybe." She leaned her head against my shoulder. "But I like this better, no secrets." We sat like that for a long while, just listening to the ticking clock and the whisper of wind outside. Everything ordinary felt extraordinary now, every touch, every shared breath. Later, when the afternoon sun began to melt the edges of snow, Clara stood up, her eyes bright. "Come with me," she said. She led me outside to the garden, where footprints still marked the places we'd stood the night before. The air was crisp, the world quiet again. She took my hands, looked straight at me, and smiled. "I want this to last," she said. "Not just Christmas. Not just now." I felt my heart tighten, not with fear this time, but with something stronger. "Then let's make it last." She nodded, her eyes soft and certain. "We will." We kissed once more, not as a secret, not as a moment stolen, but as something beginning. The snowlight shimmered around us. The world, for once, felt wide open. Christmas ended, but the feeling didn't. Some beginnings just borrow the magic of the season, and keep it burning long after the lights fade. Love doesn't hibernate when the snow melts, it grows, quietly, in the spaces between ordinary days. January arrived soft and pale, the snow replaced by gray skies and crisp mornings. The holiday bustle had faded, the house quiet once more, but Clara and I carried a warmth that no winter chill could touch. We spent the first week after Christmas carefully navigating our new reality. No more stolen kisses behind the tree. No more whispered secrets in hallways. We were out of hiding, but the world still demanded patience. Her brother gave us space, mostly. Sometimes he teased, sometimes he rolled his eyes, but there was no hostility, only a slow, careful acceptance. It was enough. Clara and I found our rhythm in the ordinary. Late-night cocoa in the kitchen, quiet walks through streets still frosted with ice, talking about everything and nothing. The magic of Christmas lingered in small, everyday ways. One evening, we went back to the garden, now hardened by winter, the branches of the trees bare but outlined in frost. She took my hand, fingers interlaced with mine, and said softly, "I never want to lose this feeling." "You won't," I promised. "Not if we're careful, not if we keep choosing each other." Her smile softened the cold around us. "You make it sound easy." "Easy isn't the word," I admitted. "But right, that's what it feels like." We walked in silence for a while, the crunch of snow beneath our boots and the quiet night wrapping around us. Then she stopped, turned to face me, and tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. "I've thought about the future," she whispered, her breath misting in the cold. "Not just us, but everything. I don't want to wait for the perfect moment anymore. I want now." Her words were a promise. I reached for her face, holding her gently, memorizing the warmth of her skin. "Then we start now," I said. Our first month beyond Christmas passed in moments like this, ordinary, extraordinary, quiet, full of love. We laughed at our awkward attempts to be normal, we held each other through cold nights, and we found courage in every glance, every touch. Even the small challenges couldn't shake what had begun under the Christmas lights. Every snowflake, every winter morning, every whispered confession reminded me that love could be soft, steady, and unshakable, even after the season passed. End hook. Some love stories begin with a kiss in the snow, but they live in the quiet after, in ordinary days, in steady hands, in hearts brave enough to keep choosing each other. Love isn't only found in perfect moments, it's proven in the ones that make your heart ache. January's quiet beauty was deceptive. Even with snow still lingering on the streets and frost clinging to window panes, the real world was waiting outside our little bubble, ready to intrude. Clara and I had been inseparable since Christmas, late-night talks, walks in the park, coffee runs, and stolen kisses under the streetlights. But as life slowly returned to routine, the first crack appeared. Her university schedule was heavier than she'd anticipated, and my own work hours began piling up. Messages went unanswered for hours. Calls were missed. And one evening, after a particularly long day, I found myself standing outside her door, heart pounding, unsure if I would be met with warmth or distance. Clara opened the door, hair pulled back, face tired but smiling. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey," I replied, my voice betraying my nerves. "Are you okay?" She hesitated. "I'm fine. Just tired." I wanted to reach for her, to hold her and tell her everything was going to be fine. But instead, I nodded. "I get it. Work, school, everything." She stepped back, letting me in, but there was a tension, subtle, but unmistakable. Over the next week, small frustrations began to pile up. A missed call here, a delayed message there, and suddenly, the comfortable rhythm we'd found after Christmas felt fragile. Doubts whispered, uninvited. One evening, unable to hold back, I confronted her. "Are we okay?" I asked, voice trembling. Clara looked down, biting her lip. "I don't want to fight," she admitted. "But I feel like I don't know how to do this sometimes. I love you, but everything feels so busy, so overwhelming." Her honesty cut through me, but it wasn't sharp, it was real. And reality, no matter how uncomfortable, was the only thing that could make love last. Was the only thing that could make love last. "I love you too," I said firmly. "And we'll figure it out. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to try. Together." She met my gaze, eyes glistening, and nodded. "Together," she whispered. That night, we walked outside again. The snow was soft underfoot, the world quiet and forgiving. Clara took my hand, and this time, it didn't feel like a fragile promise. It felt like armor. "We'll have hard days," she said, voice low. "But we'll also have days like this." I leaned my forehead against hers. I wouldn't trade either. And as we stood beneath the pale winter sky, the first test of our love wasn't a fracture, it was a reminder. That love wasn't only magic or stolen kisses under Christmas lights. It was patience, courage, and the willingness to hold on, even when everything else felt heavy. Sometimes love's first test isn't a storm, it's the quiet moments that ask, "Will you stay?" And when the answer is yes, every snowfall feels like a blessing. Love isn't only discovered under snow, it's nurtured in ordinary days, celebrated in small promises, and made unbreakable by choice. February arrived softly, the first hints of spring still far off, but the city seemed quieter somehow, calmer, more intimate. Clara and I had found our rhythm again. The small tension of January had passed, replaced by laughter, late-night talks, and stolen moments that felt like private treasures. Valentine's Day was approaching, and though neither of us was one for grand gestures, the excitement in the air was impossible to ignore. Clara surprised me one evening with a small envelope, tied with a red ribbon. "For you," she said, cheeks pink, a playful sparkle in her eyes. I took it, heart skipping. Inside was a simple card. On it, in her looping handwriting, she'd written, "I love you more than all the snow we've shared. Let's keep choosing each other, every day." My eyes misted, warmth blooming in my chest. You always know what to say, I whispered. She shrugged, pretending not to notice the blush rising on her cheeks. I just speak the truth. Later, we took a walk through the frost-kissed streets. The city was quiet, almost dreamlike, and the streetlights glowed like golden candles in the evening fog. Clara slipped her hand into mine. I want to promise something, she said softly. What? That I'll always choose you, she murmured, squeezing my hand. Even when it's hard, even when life gets busy. Even when we fight. I promise the same, I replied, my voice firm with certainty. She leaned closer, resting her forehead against mine. It's not Christmas anymore, she whispered, but every day with you feels like magic. We laughed softly, the sound mingling with the distant hum of the city. And then we kissed, a kiss that wasn't about snow or mistletoe or secrets. It was about us, steady, true, and full of promise. As we walked home hand in hand, I realized something profound. Love isn't only a spark in the dark or a stolen moment under the lights. Love is choosing someone every single day, through cold mornings, long afternoons, and quiet nights like this. Clara squeezed my hand again. I can't wait to see what comes next, she said, eyes shining with hope. Neither can I said, smiling. And in that soft February night, with the city wrapped in frost and quiet, I knew that the love we had found beneath the Christmas lights wasn't a fleeting magic. It was the beginning of something real, something lasting, something beautiful. Some love stories begin under snow, but the ones that endure are built in ordinary days, in whispered promises, and in hearts brave enough to choose each other again and again. Love isn't seasonal, it grows quietly, like the first green shoots after a long winter, pushing toward light, patient and unstoppable. March arrived slowly, brushing the city with gentle sunlight and the soft scent of thawing earth. Snow was a memory, and the streets were lined with the pale promise of blossoms. Clara and I walked together beneath bare trees beginning to bud, the world waking around us just as our love had been waking for months. The rhythm of our days had settled into something tenderly familiar. Work, school, shared meals, evening walks. Yet the newness of our love remained, that quiet thrill of seeing her smile, the way her hand felt in mine, the subtle brush of lips as we passed each other in hallways. One Saturday afternoon, she pulled me toward the park near her house. I have something to show you, she said, her voice tinged with excitement. I followed her through the soft mud and early blooms until we reached a small garden plot she had been tending. Tiny green shoots peeked from the soil, fragile but determined. Spring, she said simply, kneeling beside the plants. It always comes back. No matter how long winter lasts, it comes back. I knelt beside her, brushing soil from my fingers. Like us, I whispered. She smiled, eyes meeting mine. Exactly like us. The moment stretched, warm and quiet. I reached for her, holding her face gently. I've loved every step of this journey, I said softly. Every winter night, every secret, every kiss. And I, she replied, leaning into me, I've loved every second with you. Even the scary ones. Especially the scary ones. We kissed there, in the fresh air, among new life pushing through the soil. It was a kiss that tasted like hope, like trust, like a promise of everything yet to come. Afterward, we sat together, watching the clouds drift lazily above. She rested her head on my shoulder, and I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. This was no longer the stolen magic of Christmas or the fleeting thrill of hidden moments. This was love grounded in reality, tender, patient, and unwavering. Do you think we're ready? I asked softly. For what? For everything that comes next. Life. Challenges. Us. She turned to me, eyes serious but bright. We've been ready since the first snow. We just needed to believe it. And in that moment, I knew she was right. Love had started under the Christmas lights, but it had grown stronger than snow or season. It had become something real, something lasting, something ours. Some love begins like a spark in winter, but the ones that endure bloom in spring, patient, steadfast, and radiant, ready to face the world together. Some love stories begin with a spark, and a year later, that spark has become a light strong enough to guide two hearts home. The first snow of the following Christmas fell softly outside, dusting rooftops and streets in silver once more. But inside, Clara and I were warm, cozy, and infinitely at peace. It had been a year since that first kiss beneath the Christmas lights, and every moment since had woven us closer together. We sat side by side on the sofa, our hands intertwined, sipping cocoa as the fire crackled. The tree glowed, ornaments reflecting in Clara's eyes, and I felt a surge of gratitude for every day we'd shared, the laughter, the challenges, the stolen kisses, and the quiet moments that spoke louder than words ever could. You know, Clara said softly, resting her head on my shoulder, I never imagined a year ago that we'd be here. Me neither, I replied, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. But I'm glad we are. I can't imagine being anywhere else. Her smile was tender, full of warmth and promise. We've grown together, she said. Through winter, spring, everything. And I love you even more now than I did then. I love you too, I whispered. Every day. In every season. The moment was perfect, quiet, unspoken yet completely understood. No need for grand gestures. No need for more than the gentle press of lips, the warmth of shared breath, the simple truth of hearts aligned. Later, we stepped outside to watch the snow settle over the garden. It reminded me of that first kiss, tentative, thrilling, impossible to forget. But this time, it felt different. Solid. Certain. Our love had endured. Our love had grown. Clara took my hand, squeezing it gently. Here's to us, she said. To every day we've had and every day to come. To us, I echoed, smiling against her cheek. The snow fell quietly around us, but inside, our hearts were blazing. 1 year had passed, and we were still choosing each other, still holding on, still in love, still fearless together. And I knew, without doubt, that the first kiss beneath the Christmas lights had been only the beginning. Some love begins with a single spark in winter, but the ones that endure become a steady flame, bright, warm, and unshakable, lighting the way for every season of life together. Some love begins beneath the glow of Christmas lights, but the kind that lasts grows in quiet moments, steady hands, and hearts brave enough to choose each other every single day.